It's about time I got to an Archibald Jr. movie. Wait, who am I talking to?
What can be said about Archibald Jr. other than this is clearly one of the unsung rock gods of the 60s? Archibald Jr. was graced to us very briefly in time, appearing in 6 movies from 1961 to 1965, and apart from being the frontman to the rock and roll group Archibald Jr. and the Archers, the McDonald's tie-ins practically write themselves, especially since the drummer is a big tub of special sauce. Arch showcased his musical talents in a series of films produced by his father, Archibald Sr., who would sometimes also act in and direct the films. The most famous of the movies was Ega, which would later find an audience on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Wild Guitar was the 3rd film from the halls, coming out 1 year after The Choppers and the same year as Ega in 1962. Archibald Jr. was like the Pierre Kirby of 60s rockers. His appearance was brief, but they could both probably take on ninjas. Wild Guitar stars Archibald Jr. as Bud Eagle.
His birth name was Coors America Freedom.
Bud dreams of moving to Hollywood to make it big as a musician. Unfortunately, that means criminals. The film was co-written by Arch Sr. under the pseudonym Nicholas Merriweather. Directing duties, however, went to Ray Dennis Steckler in his first film as a director. Steckler, aside from being one of the many forms taken by Nicolas Cage, would later direct cult hits such as the incredibly strange long-ass Title, which also appeared on Mystery Science Theater 3000. He'd even direct some adult films later in his career, such as Debbie Does Las Vegas.
Is there any city that Debbie didn't fuck?
I'm proud to be watching this film in pristine black and white.
After this DVD was colorized by Ted Turner when he broke into my house and spilled paint on it. This movie should be in blue and dark blue like God intended.
Never mind this Sam Katzman shit, let's get to the real gritty story of rock and roll. Oh, god damn it, no one told me that Mutt Williams was gonna be in this. That guitar needs to find a good arch to tame its wild side. Ooh, the road to Hollywood is paved with banana peels. I don't know, Hollywood always seemed more colorful to me than this. This is the image every aspiring actor sees before they're thrust into stag reels. All the sights are here. There's the famous corner of Hollywood and Vine and musical director Alan O'Day, and there's Mann's Chinese Theater. This movie won't play there, but we can show you the outside of it, not to mention...
He was almost hit by a Neil Breen movie.
And holy shit, Duke Mitchell has his own diner? This concrete was pretty fancy until someone named Van Johnson wrote all over it. Best get off the street and find something to eat.
What's that? Methinks it's a hick. Yeah, a hick.
Oh, he made the mistake of walking into Mafia Sidekick's diner.
Am I jealous that Arch is pulling that sweater off? Yes. Am I also jealous of that gorgeous hair?
Abso-fucking-lutely!
This is Vicky, played by Nancy Czar. She gives him free food, obviously because they know who he is. They have a poster for the Arch classic The Choppers in the background. And something tells me this is a horror movie diner.
Spearfish.
Bearfish. Bearfish.
Spearfish.
Bearfish.
Spearfish.
Booze cod!
Vicky is a dancer for the television channel, so she instantly gets Arch a meet and greet. This is pretty far-fetched. Wait, I get it. This is one of Ralph Parker's fantasy sequences.
The cops!
Arch got out of there right before the Night Owl massacre.
We'll see how good of a dancer Vicky is. Excellent. You won the role as an extra in a Ted V. Michaels movie or in an Al Adamson movie. You take your pick.
This was when every variety show felt like a flashback to someone right before they were murdered. I don't know about this lineup.
You're on next. Feel sick.
We're in trouble. Our next act just ate a Reggie bar. Look, Mr. Hitchcock, I've got a new singer right here. He can play the guitar and save girls from cavemen. I'm not sure the host's heart is really in this program.
Our kids don't even rehearse. They just audition and then go on. As a matter of fact, I don't even know his name.
You're watching We Don't Give a Shit, so why should you? With your host, Ed Dullivan. Ooh, I'm gonna get so mad at this singing.
I'm gonna love you, baby, yes I will. 'Cause you opened my eyes and gave me such a thrill.
This new band, Bud Eagle and the Reservoir Dogs, is quite the bread and butter. Okay, wait a minute, that's my son. No son of mine is gonna play the devil's music on the Purgatory Network. Bud is getting a great response. And then they ripped out his stomach and ate him. Get me the president of music! I want that singing boy. I'll even stop putting my hair in the ice machine. This is manager Mike McCauley, played by Arch Sr. himself.
He's the biggest manager in Hollywood. He's discovered a lot of unknowns.
We don't know their names because they're still unknown. He's a terrible manager. Just sign away your life, no questions asked.
You don't have to worry about me, Mr. McCauley.
I'm already having trouble with you. You don't call me Mike.
Oh,
60s Boogie Nights doesn't have nearly enough 13-inch dick. Jack Horner's gonna direct so many movies with bare ankles and twisting hips. They're being watched over by Mike's second-in-command, the director. Unfortunately, Hansel and Gretel didn't leave breadcrumbs, and they're stuck with the music manager witch. Also, holy shit, a building! Already, Mike has Bud set up with a sweet.
holy smokes! A swimming pool!
It's a bathtub, you idiot! Ray Steckler plays Steak. Yes, his name is Steak. They call him that because he has a T-bone in his skull and he keeps a baked potato in his pocket. Bud wants to meet Vicky out on a date, but Mike forbids it. Last time someone crossed Mike, it was a Cantina band, and Mike had them frozen in carbonite and hung up on the wall. Don't take this deal.
You got yourself a deal.
Great. Did you not notice he's filmed in Sinister Vision? But before Steak turns into a vampire, he's sent to get Vicky the hell out of Bud's life.
Here,
What's this for?
kid doesn't want any loose ends.
Hey, it's 1962. That bought her a new house. And guess what's for breakfast?
I ordered you a steak when I heard you moving around in there.
A steak? For breakfast?
What else is there?
He's really thankful that his name is Steak and not Bowl Full of Rat Feces. Alright, Bud, your new band is here, which for some reason includes Dinah Shore. Maybe she can play a mean keyboard. Not only does he have a new band, but also a new guitar.
Try that on for size.
For me?
Chuck Berry used this to shove up a hooker's ass. This guitar is too wild. Guess we have to see some more singing.
You don't love me anymore. You don't love me anymore. Oh, when somebody else thought you were in me.
I wonder how long before Bud realizes he works for Crooked Records.
Just what you told me to tell him. Yeah? Gonna make some records, do some shows. It's gonna be a long time before any money comes.
Why are you giving a hand job to a lamp? What is he doing? What did Ray take before this scene? Does he think Arch Sr. is in the lamp? Is he just looking around for things to fuck? No wonder the previous scene was filmed like the director thought he was literally dancing on the ceiling. And here's some characters I didn't think would actually return.
What say we have a diversion? Yeah, good idea. Hey, Weasel,
What's a diversion?
Shouldn't you guys be reminiscing about your days in West Side Story? They're doing that new dance called the Iga Stemlo. I love that Arch Hall Jr. and Bud Eagle apparently exist in the same universe. Double arches! Get these pictures to every Terry Stafford look-alike contest stat!
So this is what he looks like. Good thing this is no beauty contest.
Well, now we know who later wrote some of the jokes for the Iga episode. They're gonna turn this arch into an arch deluxe.
How about a fad?
What'd you say?
What kind of a fad do you want us to start?
What? Oh, sorry, I thought you said something else. Mike is like a more honest interpretation of the Steve character from Rock Around the Clock. It's a B-movie. It can afford to be more honest. Hell, Bud even wants to leave, probably because of lines like this.
Swooners and everything.
What about tearing off his clothes?
That's for squares.
Those clothes. Is that the new tearing off type? Really?
You want me to wear clothes that will make it easier for people to molest me? This movie seems way more upfront about the music industry than the studio movie was. What are the odds?
Does everything have to be so phony? But you can't make people, force people to like me. You just can't take a group of people and say, you like Bud Eagle, and you go buy his records.
That's exactly what you do. Life is a big game of follow the leader.
When you get a movie made by people with nothing to lose, you get a much more interesting movie. Unfortunately, Bud can't leave because of all the money he owes Mike. Bud's gonna have to be the identical to Arch Hall Jr.'s Drexel the Dream Hemsley. Even the editor seems quick to get famous.
You don't say anything. Just start lining up those jobs like mad. We're gonna hit this town like a
How the hell are you supposed to survive off of that fake money? As Vicky hangs out in the alley that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered in, Arch is able to communicate with her through song.
I love you, Vicky.
This movie is like the original David Lynch film. If the song Vicky sounds familiar, it's because Arch also sang it in Iga. But if Iga exists in this universe, does Arch know that he's stealing Arch's song? Doesn't matter, the song makes way more sense in this movie because at least in this one, he's singing to a girl whose name actually is Vicky. Weird thing is, no one knows who this dancer is. She snuck in here after dancing on top of Frank Booth's car. Even the editing is surreal.
You are my love.
It's like if American Bandstand was filmed inside of the radiator from Eraserhead. Vicky is just able to walk right in and kiss him.
You did mean it for me, didn't you?
Of course.
I saw you singing that same song to someone named Roxy, you bastard! You're both still live on the air. Can you get off the stage? You're upsetting the Beau Brummels. Plus, they got a date with Slapstick.
I used to go skating all the time.
My God, it's like Hell's Theater Troupe putting on a production of the Book of Mormon, but with more spinning. I assure you that if the cold weren't giving me significant shrinkage, I would be harder than my hair. Also, the ice is gonna break! I've never seen a kiss be so bleak. This is like a kiss that happens before a nuclear bomb goes off and asks you to vote for Johnson. Well, that settles it. This movie is definitely taking place after the rapture. Who knew the British invasion would also take out the sun? And I think I know why this soundtrack was hard to find.
Look what I brought you. Isn't that something?
Stupid, inconvenient 50s iPod.
I'm gonna love you, baby, yes I will. 'Cause you opened my eyes and gave...
By the way, I'm one of the Classics 4 now. His apartment is broken into by a former singer who was promised success by Mike before getting kicked to the curb. This movie is too honest. I want my fairy tale rock movies.
A few years ago, the fashion was handsome young men with wavy hair.
now it's kids. You don't even have to understand the words.
Pervy. Jesus. And this is right after they talk about hiring a prostitute for Arch so he can forget about Vicky. What starts out as a golly gee willikers rock fantasy quickly turns into the shit that really happens. This movie is too good for this show. The first cigarettes of the movie. This film had a much lower cigarette budget than Rock Around the Clock. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a date with a heroin overdose, and Arch has another kind of date.
Kid, this is Daisy. She's gonna teach you how to swing.
While I'm happy to be getting an early look at Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm not sure it's legal for me to be watching this. But DiCaprio is great in it. Who knew that the most jovial rape scene I've ever seen could be interrupted by murder? And that's the story about how one of Herman's hermits died. But no drug and hooker-fueled rock movie is too good for a third act breakup.
Vicky, wait.
I can explain. Her name is Valerie. I just wrote a song for the Monkees. Trust me, the movie still gets weirder.
Hey, kid, come here.
Stop trying to molest this kid, Hollywood. Why are those kidnappers wearing a mask? They're clearly the rejected T-birds from the diner. This kidnapping room is so dark that it could be an ice skating rink. How is he gonna get away from them? Oh, that was easy. Bud, however, gets an idea. He and the kidnappers join forces as a way to get some of the money that's owed to him by Mike. He's also owed one giant bottle of Crush. Okay, unless he pays them 15 grand, they're gonna seriously mess up Bud's hair. I guess I'll pay him. We need him for that nasty rabbit movie. Oh, and they're the Three Stooges now. This plan is a little too well done. Wait, well done? Why, that means...
Stay! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Steak prefers his kidnappings to be much bloodier, and his kidnappers to be zanier. Guido was my least favorite stooge. This whole kidnapping makes front page news. Even Dick Tracy villain Colonel Sanders Caprice is interested. There's only one place a washed up singer like Bud could hide out. A dishwashing room.
Hey, you in there! Come on out!
You want me, Marge?
Bud!
Vicky!
Oh, Arch, I love a man who can wash a mean cheese grater. It's bad enough they didn't release this soundtrack at the time of release, but what I really want is that cardboard cutout. Mike then gets word on the whereabouts of Bud.
Well, Mr. McCullough, you don't know me, but I need $20.
Get lost.
All right, fine, I'll go tab hunter somewhere else. Maybe this means they can renegotiate, all while Steak accidentally blows his own head off for thinking his gun is a bottle of A1. They're very serious here. One slap and Arch's hair is still fantastic. Luckily, they got all of Mike's threats on tape. Guys, there's no need to fight. That tape only records 5 seconds at a time. All they got was the slap. I don't know whether to fight or surf, and why are those my choices? Even throughout all of this, and a dead guy, things turn out swell.
Let's say we get some real teamwork going from now on.
After all, I can't fire my dad. Mike even casts them in a movie, hopefully sans cavemen.
Well, my baby's sick and I don't know what to do. Yes, my baby's sick and I don't know what to do.
I don't know what this movie is, but I love it! Bud's movie is the first rock and roll film to be shot at a raw sewage plant. It's like if Troma remade the Elvis movie Clam Bake. And who the hell invited the zombie from the beginning of Night of the Living Dead? Plus, they spoil the ending on not just the cover, but the back cover, as well as the disc itself. That's a triple spoiler! Oh, you best believe this movie still manages to end bizarrely. Where'd they go? Were they finally raptured as well? Arch Hall Jr. will return in his next film as a serial killer. No, seriously.
I have been hurt by others, and I will hurt them. I will make them suffer like I have suffered.
Jesus! While most of Arch's movies had him as the happy-go-lucky singing protagonist, in one of the best wildly against type casting choices ever, Arch Hall Jr. portrayed a fictitious version of serial killer Charles Starkweather in his best role, the 1963 movie The Sadist, before finishing out his movie career with lighthearted fare like The Nasty Rabbit and Deadwood 76. After retiring from acting, Arch Hall Jr. would later become a Boeing 747 captain and later a DC-10 captain. Given that Wild Guitar is co-written by a producer like Hall Sr., who worked in the industry for decades, it constantly feels like it's written by someone who knows the ins and outs and dark sides of the entertainment industry at the time. What begins bright and chipper descends into total bleakness once Bud makes it big, even giving the romance sequences a feeling of hopelessness. It's like watching the original True Hollywood Story. I get the feeling that Steckler and Arch Sr. like presenting a more soulless side to the industry. Rock Around the Clock was a movie made with studio backing and featuring some of the top rockers of the time, while Wild Guitar was made for only $30,000 with no big-name stars or performers, and yet features alcoholism, prostitution, gangsters, sleazy producers. So in other words, the low-budgeted movie is way better, and much more stuff happens in this film. It actually feels like it's about something. And since a CD of all the best music of Arch Hall Jr. was eventually released, I can rock out to this music on my downtime as well. We'll get back to more studio rock movies next week, which actually does have Chuck Berry in it. Not sure if he shoves a guitar up someone's ass or not, but we'll soon find out.
Oh, I want to make some records. Great.
You don't love me anymore. You don't love me anymore. Oh, well, somebody else taught me about eating sweet talk and a getting sweet love.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/stonedgremlin productions. Follow us on Twitter at the Cinema Snob, or check out our homepage at thecinemasnob.com.